Daily drivers are the lifeblood of general gameplay in Star Citizen, a ship that can facilitate a majority of gameplay loops, get you where you want to go in a short enough time, and look damn good doing it. When it comes to ships a little bit larger than your smaller starters, the Cutlass from Drake has been the popular choice. Those days might be over. Citizens, my name's Beard of Oz, and today we are talking about the Crusader Spirit C1 Edition. We'll go over its specs, its uses, and where it sits in the Star Citizen lineup. Let's dive in. Brought to you by the people that bought a gas giant, the Spirit C1 from Crusader has a sleek profile that just screams, "Look at me, ma, I'm a bird." Sitting at just 10 meters in height, the Spirit resembles the aUEC series more so than its Herculean cousins, and the first in the manufacturer's offerings thus far to boast VTOL-capable thrusters. Its wider wingspan makes for trying times when navigating in and out of its bafflingly small allocated hangars, though word from CIG is that at some point in the near future, this will be rectified. Soon couldn't come soon enough. In terms of hardware, the C1 Spirit comes with one size 2 power plant, a size 2 cooler, a single size 2 shield, and a size 2 quantum drive. When it comes to the Ducker, the C1 comes with two size 3 hardpoints on the upper chassis and a chin-mounted size 3 twin turret. For those that love finer details, powering down your weapons will have the upper-mounted hardpoints retract down into the ship, giving it a slightly less aggressive look. Factory, it'll also come with 4 size 3 missiles, just in case you want to test to see if missiles are still useless. The C1 also comes with a size 2 turret-mounted tractor beam that when activated will position itself on the tail, allowing a view of both the rear of the ship and inside the cargo hold, which will prove very useful once the updates to cargo hauling dictate a need for haulers to do their own heavy lifting from vendor to ship. Moving to the interior of the ship through its solitary point of access, the C1 has a drop-down ramp for vehicle loading convenience, sporting a secondary door internally that, sadly at this point, has no locking mechanism, making it purely for aesthetic purposes until such a time that features like internal atmosphere and resource management become an integrated mechanic. Speaking of integrated mechanics, this airlock also acts as the access point for the ship's primary components, allowing for ease of use during the upcoming engineering gameplay, as well as to salvage should you be harvesting the soft death remains of one of these vessels. Moving further in, we reach the cargo bay, the primary selling point of the C1 over its variant brethren. Boasting a 64 SCU cargo grid capable of holding two 32 SCU containers, the Spirit C1 holds this distinct advantage over its like-sized counterparts from other manufacturers. It will comfortably hold a few ground vehicles should your day in the verse hold more terrestrial endeavours. Moving through the quintessentially Crusader dual Hobbit hold door airlocks, we find ourselves in the cockpit living quarters combo. Boasting 2 bunks, a weapon locker, and a fridge and nutrition unit, though the jury is out on when we'll ever get that glorious soft-serve machine. The primary pilot seat is to the left, with the co-pilot seat to the right of it. The co-pilot seat also acts as the tractor beam control, allowing you to remotely shift larger cargo into the hold without having to leave the comfort of your ship. Mostly. Flight-wise, the C1 is an enjoyable ship. In 3.22.1, it is reasonably fast for a ship that hauls the amount that it does. It doesn't have the sharp turns that a light fighter does, but nor does it feel ponderous like ships in the larger categories. In 3.23 with master modes it feels okay, though time will tell if that receives changes or not. Its archetype build has it sit in the same bracket as ships like the Freelancer, and while that initially isn't a huge issue, if it doesn't break away from that mold with fine tuning sooner rather than later, its major draw is going to come down to that 32 SU crate allowance and brand preference. Its cockpit isn't too obstructive when it comes to the field of view, and citizens with head or eye tracking setup will gain some additional benefit from the extended cockpit glass that continues above the locked line of sight. The seated position, while offset to the left, doesn't feel vastly so, and shots fired don't look like they're coming from an extremely distant location. When it comes to combat, the C1 isn't defenseless. Its size 2 shield allows it to withstand a reasonable amount of punishment if the goal is to use its speed to outrun aggressors. Its moderate armament can deal a decent amount of damage to smaller vessels and can stand toe-to-toe with its other branded counterparts, though it's definitely not intended to be a dedicated combat vessel. Extended combat will wear away at the ship, and its larger cross-section from above or below make it a large target, though if viewed from other angles, its slimmer dinner plate profile might help it escape some shots hitting their mark. All in all, it can fight back if necessary, but it certainly wouldn't be my first choice for starting a fracas. Cargo hauling is this ship's bread and butter. Its spacious hold and grid allowance of 64 SCU make for an easy choice when medium cargo movement is the goal. The fact it can hold 32 SCU containers allows it to pull ahead of other haulers in its capacity bracket, including the Hull A. Because while the MISC series dedicated hauler can hold the same total cargo, it's capped out at 16 SCU crates on each of its 4 mag panels. So too are the Freelancer and Cutlass similarly limited. The tractor beam turret allows for quick and easy transfer of crates, and its increased fuel capacity allows you to make a couple of trips around Stanton before needing to refuel. As mentioned earlier, the ramp and spacious hold allow for the transport of smaller ground vehicles like the Greycat ROC and the Drake Mule, and should you be keen to tempt fate in the jitteriness of Star Citizen servers, you can load it up with Gravler vehicles too. Grab yourself an empty SCU crate and you can spend the day mining surface deposits of that tasty hadnite. So where does the C1 fit in the Star Citizen lineup? While it might not be the Cutlass Killer that many hoped, its arrival on the scene allows for an expanded variety. Until the likes of the Cutlass and Freelancer receive actual gold passes and not the tarnished silver passes that have begun making their way slowly through the fleet ranks, the C1 and ships in its bracket that have yet to arrive will provide citizens with just a few more choices. Currently, it lacks the punching power one might hope for from a ship so shiny and new, but as CIG has shown before, a jack-of-all-trades ship does not a crowded hangar make. At the time of recording, the EPTU in its current state of the upcoming master modes has relegated the Spirit and all of the ships in its archetype to feel very samey, so it is the hope that further fine-tuning of these systems will allow the Crusader Cargo Seagull to stand out a bit more from the bulkier crowd. These slight jabs aside, the C1 is currently an enjoyable ship to fly, fills some roles that a newer citizen might wish to dabble in, and has at least at this point in time the most current iteration of ship tech to hopefully usher in some newer game mechanics and loops without having to wait for a 5 Gold Star Platinum Triple bypass. The C1 has unfortunately been cast into the shadow of a ship that's still in concept. At its release into the PU to much anticipated fanfare, CIG also released the concept sales for the RSI Zeus, and it was primarily its cargo variant the Clipper that has dealt the heaviest blow. In fact, the only reason I have the C1 on my hangar is because it's the loaner ship associated with this pledge. On paper, the Zeus Clipper puts the C1 to shame with a larger cargo capacity and slimmer frame, though until it's actually in our hands, that's all speculative. For those that want a daily driver that handles itself well enough, doesn't restrict you too heavily in the early stages of various loops of gameplay, and provides a manageable platform for upcoming multi-crew and engineering gameplay, there are far worse choices than Crusader's C1. And there you have it. A look at Crusader's offering for the small to medium cargo bracket, the C1 Spirit. What do you think? Have you had a chance to fly it? Is it your go-to, or are you also just waiting for the RSI Zeus? Feel free to let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video or learned something new, I'd appreciate if you drop a like on the video, and if you'd like to see more content like this, subscribe to the channel. Be sure to check out this video here. YouTube thinks it's right up your alley. Until next time, citizens, stay safe in the verse, and I'll catch you all next time.